we've been looking at a lot of ways to pass our opponent's half guard from chest to chest positions where you have underhooks. There's going to come a day where you cannot get underhooks on your opponent. Your opponent may even be getting underhooks on you, and you still have to be effective. So the question is, what are we going to do? Okay, the way we're trying to portray this battle is in terms of two battles that are being fought simultaneously. Your opponent, in order to be effective from half guard bottom, typically has to initiate by getting up on his one shoulder, with this shoulder, the top shoulder, far away from the mat, and this hip off the mat. Okay, everything your opponent wants to do from this position typically starts from here. If I start off with his shoulders flattened, it's going to be very hard for him to be effective here. Now, once he gets to this position, he gets into attacking grips, then he can change to other positions. If deep half guard, he can put his back on the ground, but he has to start here to get to those positions in the first place. So at some point early in the engagement, your opponent needs to get here. Your game is to pin this shoulder to the mat whenever possible. And if you can do this, that's when you can start tying up the head and shoulders and pinning the head and shoulders. And we've seen how to pass when we do so. But you can't always do that. And often your opponent will have his own underhook, and it's quite difficult now to pin that shoulder down to the mat. So when this occurs, we've got to pin this hip down to the mat. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a specialized grip here, the reverse crossface. Normally a crossface, we go in here. Here we go reverse crossface. And we're going to sit out, just like so. From the sit out position, I'm going to walk his hip down to the mat. I can't push it down, I've got to walk it down. The way we do this is we take our foot, take a step. Then my other foot takes a step, and we walk across his body until his butt cheek goes all the way down to the mat. You will notice that as we go through this walk, my head gets closer and closer to the mat, with the intention of me putting my head down to the floor. So we start off here. This is a decent position, but nothing great. If Brian Glick explosively bridged into me from here, I might even lose my balance periodically. Okay, if that should occur, don't panic. If you see your opponent go into an explosive bridge, you can always put your foot right there inside his thigh and your knee up here. Don't let him knock you back with your legs extended. That's when they jump on top of you. So we put our foot just like so. So if I did get knocked backwards, I could always use my foot to return him where he came from. Okay, and then you just go right back to work. Now, in this situation, we're going to start walking his hip down to the mat and our forehead down to the mat over here. As we've seen, we do this by reaching out here with our hand so that we're balanced on our elbow and hand. And my own butt has come off the ground. Don't worry, I'll show you the reverse angle soon. Now we start walking. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now my forehead, my left elbow, and my right hand form a base of support. So when my opponent goes to move me around from here, it's quite difficult. Now, we want to free the knee of the trapped leg. So I put my elbow inside his knee and I walk my foot heel to toe up towards his butt cheeks. Now from here, we just push on the knees. And we put our knee down on the floor. Now I push with this hand and I bring my body up and I bring my two hands to either side of his head and I position myself in a position which is essentially the mounted position, except that he has my foot caught. So it's not a true mount because he still has my foot. But my two knees are on the ground, like the mounted position. I just don't have my feet controlling them yet. Okay, this is the quasi-mounted position. So once again, we start off. I need to get his shoulders and hips to the mat. Can't do it from here. So we're going to hit a sit out. Just like so. From this position, if I do get taken backwards quickly, I've got the presence of mind to make sure I put my foot inside and my knee is out. So that if he tries to get on top of me, I can always return him back where he came from. And we just go right back to work. Now from this position, I reach with my hand. Don't have your hand down here, reach out wide because we've got to walk in this direction. Now we start putting our head down to the floor. So we start walking across his body. Now, as he goes to move me around, you're very stable in this position. I take my elbow and put it inside his knee. You could use your hand, but if you do this, be aware that he might start reaching around to grab a hold of your wrist. Be aware of this. Now, walk your foot heel to toe up towards his buttocks and then push on the knee in order to get your own knee down to the floor. And then you find yourself in the quasi-mount. From another angle. So here we are on top. We take our arm and bring it over the top for a reverse crossface. We bring our hand down like so, and we sit out. Make sure when you sit out, your feet are not together. When your feet are close together in hip bridges, you have no base whatsoever and you can jump up on top of you. So make sure your foot is positioned behind you with the ball of your foot in the mat. Don't have your foot relaxed and dead. Have it in like so. So this guy comes up on top of you, you're in a position to go right like so. You can push off the mat with that bottom foot of yours. Even if Brian gets all the way up to his knees, you'll be able to return him right back where he came from. Okay, this is where you want to be. Don't sit with your butt too close to your training partner's hips. Then when he comes up on top of you, you can cover your knee, and you can't use that sumigashi action anymore. You want your butt far away from his, out here, so that if he does explode up into you, your knee is always in the correct place to lift him back where he came from. But at some point, we're going to start getting this guy's hip down to the mat. So we're going to put our hand out wide. Our butt comes off the mat. Watch my left butt cheek. It's currently on the mat. It comes slightly off the mat, and we start walking. And our head comes down to the mat. So when Brian goes to move me around, you feel very heavy and solid on top of him. Now, we walk our foot, heel to toe, we push on his knee, and we end up right here in the quasi-mounted position. My two knees on the mat. The only thing between me and the mount is my right foot. And this is where we want to be. Okay? Once we get to a position like this, now he's flattened out. His underhooks are useless to him. Okay? Because both his shoulders are down by the mat. In these kinds of situations, you're in excellent control over your opponent. This video is mostly concerned with older and mobility compromised athletes in their attempts to defeat younger, fitter, and more mobile opponents. There's a little trick which myself and my students often make use of, which enables exactly that to happen. Older mobility challenge athletes can use this trick of leg riding to tire out and frustrate strong opponents once you've gotten to that quasi-mounted position. The skill you're about to learn is not particularly exciting to look at, but it makes a real and tangible difference in your performance. And it is the ideal way for older, slower, less athletic players to dominate the legs of younger, fitter, stronger opponents in ways which win matches. So let's have a look at this. Leg riding in the sport of wrestling refers to a situation where you have two hooks in on the back, or even one hook in on the back. In jiu-jitsu, it means something quite different. In jiu-jitsu, to ride someone's legs means for you to put your legs, in particular your shins and feet, over their knees and ankles. So this would be an example of leg riding. Okay, so I'm literally pinning Brian Glick's knees together. Now, the whole thing about guard position is what makes it effective is that your opponent's knees are apart and that he controls the space between his knees. So that when I try to put weight on Brian, he can easily move me around, lift, elevate, forward, shift, etc., etc. His knees are well placed. But if I take his two knees and literally sit on top of them, okay, his guard position is completely nullified. Okay, he can't do anything effective with his legs at this point. His legs, if anything, will become a liability. It doesn't matter how we do it. I can switch shins to do it. When he goes to work from guard position from here, it's impossible for him to be effective. Not only can I use my shins to ride his knees, let's change the angle, right? But I can use my feet to pin his ankles so that he can't even bring his feet to his buttocks. Okay? When he can't use his knees and dominate the space between his knees and he can't bring his feet to his buttocks, his legs are completely shut down. So when he goes to move from a position like this, you can ride your opponent's legs for long periods of time and exhaust an opponent and render their guard position completely useless. You want to make use of this whenever you're in the quasi-mounted position. What I'm going to suggest to you as an older or athletically compromised athlete is when you get to the quasi-mounted position, use leg riding to exhaust and frustrate your opponent. Take your time in this position. He's not going anywhere. Neither are you. Just stay in that position, tire and frustrate him, and learn to pass on your own schedule. Slow the match down. If he's younger, fitter, and faster than you, slow everything down, okay? Let's look at a practical way in which we can use this. Okay, Brian Glick has me in half guard, and he has the underhook. So we've seen, in order to get around this potential problem, we take reverse crossface and sit out. From the sit out position, we walk across his body until our forehead touches the mat. We free the knee of the trapped leg by walking heel to toe, putting our hand inside the knee, and settling down into this position, the quasi-mount. Now, looking at the quasi-mount, it's essentially the mounted position with the one exception that my foot is not free. So technically you're not mounted. Your knees are on the ground, astride your opponent like a mount, but you're not fully mounted because he still has your foot. Now, him having your foot is a big deal because if he elbow escapes, he can put you back in half guard. So, what are we going to do to shut down those two legs of his? We're going to step back into his legs. We're going to take our knee back and put it right behind his buttocks. So we're going to ride his two knees. Then we're going to take our foot and we're going to lock it right there against his Achilles tendon. So when Brian goes to put me back in guard, you can literally just ride over his legs effortlessly for long periods of time. Worst case scenario, he pushes you backwards. He goes to put you back. Worst case scenario, you end up with an underhook. And you've already seen how to pass from these positions. But this is unlikely to happen. Change your angle, by the way. So this is where we want to be. We took a step back so we can ride on his legs. When he goes to frame and push, you're so far away from him that the frames are hard. It's hard for him to use them effectively. When he tries to maneuver with his legs, it's very, very difficult. And from here, you can effortlessly start to take underhooks. And once you start taking those underhooks, we know what to do. We can start our passing game. So, from another angle. Half guard. He's got an underhook. We go over the top and sit out. We bring our head down. We walk across his body. We bring our foot heel to toe up towards the buttocks and we push down into the quasi-mounted position. From here, we take a step backwards and put our knee right on his tailbone and settle down. As he goes to push us off, we just base out on the floor. We find his Achilles tendon. He tries to maneuver us around. Very, very difficult. We've got an underhook in place. Then we can use it to start passing using any one of the methods that we've seen so far. This very simple but very effective technique is the ideal method for older or athletically compromised players to ride the legs of younger, fitter, faster opponents, exhaust them, cook them over time, and get to a good half guard pass. Now, we're looking at a situation where your opponent has his own underhooks, you can't get yours, and you're still expected to be effective passing your opponent. We've seen the general solution here is to work with reverse cross faces. Flatten this guy out, walk him down to a hip. If you can flatten him out by walking in this method, you get to a position we're calling the quasi-mounted position, where you're effectively mounted, but your opponent still has your foot. Once you get to that position, you can start riding their legs and you can start passing in ways that we'll soon start looking at. The first and most important pass in the early stages is a switching crossface. This is the one that creates the first horn of a dilemma that your opponent must respond to. If he doesn't respond, the method I'm about to show you now will be 100% effective. This will force him to respond in ways that we'll soon see create other ways to be effective. So, we're caught up in our opponent's half guard, and he's done a good job of getting his own underhook. So we've seen in situations like this, it's going to be hard for us to get his shoulder down to the mat because you don't have an underhook to work with. If I had an underhook, it's pretty easy to drive the shoulder to the mat. But when I don't have an underhook and I try to drive forward, I get taken out of position. So that's not going to work. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring our head down towards his elbow, and we're going to take a hand and go in with a reverse crossface. Instead of cross-facing here, we go over the top like so. Now from this position, we sit out. We're going to take our hand to the floor, and I walk across his body to get this hip down to the mat. So I want this part of his body to touch the floor down here somewhere. The way we do this is we walk 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until my forehead comes down to the mat. That creates 3 bases of support. 1, 2, and my elbow 3. Now, when he goes to move us around, it's quite difficult. From this position, I walk my foot heel to toe up towards his buttocks so that I can use my elbow escape motion and a hand to get my knee down to the mat. Once my knee goes down to the mat, we're in the quasi-mounted position. Now, we've just seen leg riding. There will be times your opponent just goes everything in, tight. And as a result, it's hard for me to get underhooks. Can't do it. Okay? Leg riding doesn't seem to be very effective here because he's not trying to move, so there's no need to pin him down. So what do we do here? When we see this, we take a switching crossface. Where I take my hand through like so, and I grab the lat muscle on the other side. Don't worry, I'll show you another angle soon. We're going to use our shoulder to come forward. Never, biggest wrong here. Never just go from where you are. If my shoulder is below his jaw, there's no crossface. So my first movement is forward so that my shoulder collects his jawline. Now, apologies to Brian Glick for this one. We're going to put extreme pressure through that crossface. Do you see what's happening here? Brian Glick's knees are facing this way. If I can get a situation where his knees face this way and his chin faces this way, it's going to put Brian under so much pressure that it's so difficult for him to hold on to my foot. He goes to hold on to my foot with as best he can. We just put so much pressure, it's just miserable for him. And then from here, we just step right forward into the mounted position. Okay, it's a terrible experience for the guy on bottom. So once again, we go just like so. We walk across his body and start the action of flattening him out. We walk our foot heel to toe up towards the buttocks, and we get down into the quasi-mounted position. He goes into a very extreme defensive position. Okay? His whole body is facing this way. So I'm going to make his body face this way and his head face this way. We come all the way through, and I grab the lat muscle. I put the back of his head on the mat. We start creating so much pressure. It's just so damn uncomfortable. If necessary, I'll put my foot inside his thigh to extract my leg. Usually it's not necessary. Now from here, you could just pass the side control, but what we normally do is step forward into the mounted position. From another angle. So from here, we go over the top and we sit out. From the sit out, we walk across his body. We walk our foot heel to toe, and then we take our knee down into the quasi-mounted position. He goes into an extreme defensive posture. We take our arm and we grab the lat muscle. Now, when this, I'm going to have Brian hold on to my ankle as tight as he can and give me nothing. When we see this kind of extreme resistance, we put our forehead down on the mat and drive forward, and we take our shoelaces. You're going to bring your feet up higher than that. And we bring our shoelaces inside to peel everything out. Now, we just step our foot right onto the hip, and we're in the mounted position. Okay? Apologies to Brian. It's a miserable experience to have to drill this move. So, what are we doing here? Brian, let's switch places. from a situation where he's quasi-mounted, you will see that I have to face this way to hit an elbow escape. Brian knows this, okay? So he takes the crossface and finds my jaw. If I hold on tight, he's going to keep his shoelace and put it right inside and then put his chest down low. So I need to hit a left elbow escape, but Brian's moving my head to the right. As a result, my whole body is discombobulated. I'm trying to elbow escape left, but I can't move my head left. It's moving right. Now he uses the pressure of this shoelace to extract. He could just go to side control, but what we typically do is bounce to side control, and then from here, step over into the mounted position. So you pass right up the middle, okay? And in this sense, you can see what's happening. I'm trying to hit a lefty elbow escape, but he's forcing my head right. And the discombobulation between my upper body and lower body weakens things to even to a point where I'm heavier and stronger than Brian. I can't hold on, especially when he puts his shoelace inside my thigh and levers his foot free. And then you can either drop down into side control or just step directly into the mounted position. This means that if your opponent takes an extreme defensive posture and just holds on tight, says, okay, I'm going to wait this out, that's not a good option, because the amount of pressure that you can put on your opponent between his upper body and his lower body, it feels utterly miserable for the person on bottom, I assure you. And it's only a matter of time until you drag your foot out, especially when you use your shoelace as a wedge inside his thighs to extract your foot. And then you end up in the bottom mount. So what most opponents will do when they realize this is happening is they will say, I need to get out of here, and they will start to initiate an elbow escape. And that will take us into the next move. Now, we're looking at this idea of using the quasi-mounted position. Whenever we can't get initial underhooks on an opponent, we use a reverse crossface, walk across the center line, get to the quasi-mount. From quasi-mount, we can ride your opponent's legs for time in order to wear out and frustrate, cook an opponent. We can use the reverse crossface to force our way into the mounted position if our opponent goes into an extreme defensive situation. Pretty soon your opponent's going to figure out he can't just go extreme defensive. He can't just hold on, because the crossface, the switching crossface, puts so much leverage pressure onto your opponent that no one can hold onto the foot. And so what they're all going to do is they're going to try and elbow escape. They're going to try and put you back in guard using the foot that they have trapped. What does this look like? What's the logic going on here? Okay, we're in the quasi-mounted position. Once your opponent gets your ankle, his next goal is to get your knee off the mat. Just say we go. Now, plant your foot, and now shrimp out this way. That takes my knee off the mat. Go back. So his goal is to get my knee off the mat. If he just puts his foot out and shrimps, he takes my knee off the mat. Now he can elbow escape and put my leg back between his legs. That's what he wants to do. If my opponent goes extreme defensive, he just holds on upstairs, we've seen that's a foolish option for him, because he needs to hit an elbow escape this way. So he points his body to his left, and our shoulder prevents him from doing so. And then from here, it's an easy thing for us to slip forward into the mounted position. Okay, so that's not an option. So his best option from here is always to get my knee off the ground and elbow escape. That's why we like leg riding this thing. That's why we like leg riding so much. When he goes to do this, I just sit on top of my own knee. So when he goes to take my knee off the ground, it's impossible. That's why leg riding is such an impressive way to tire out younger, fitter opponents. However, it's not the only option. What we'll often do is we'll let the guy elbow escape. But when he goes to elbow escape, there will always be some degree of space between his elbow and his ribs. That space only has to be the width of my fingers for me to get an underhook. When he goes to elbow escape, I just put my fingers inside the bicep and I let him take my knee, but at the price of giving up an underhook. And we know what to do from here, fellas. We've already seen it earlier in the video. Once we get our underhooks, we can go into our passing sequences. You can use any one of those underhook passing sequences that we saw earlier. We could work with the classic underhook and pass out like so. We could take our knee across, switch, come back, and pass out like so. We could make a switch into double underhooks. You could switch across into near side underhook. You can do whatever you want. Once you've gotten one underhook, you've opened the floodgates into all the other ones. Okay, you've got chest to chest, you've got your underhook. You can go in any one of the directions that we've already seen in this video. So let's have a look at this now. Opponent has us in half guard, he's got the underhook. So we know our first step, reverse overhook, sit out position. Walk across the center line until we can get down into the quasi mount position. If you just go static, use your switching crossface. He can't go static, he's got an elbow escape. Take your fingers, put them inside his bicep, so that as you lose the battle for the knee, you win the battle for the underhook. Once you get one underhook, the floodgates are open. You can pass with far side underhook and head block. You can switch across to near side underhook. And then from here, pass on the far side. You can go into double underhooks. You can do whatever you want. They're all highly effective methods of passing. And end up in perfect passing position. Okay? So this is the ideal way for you to use the very predictable defensive reaction that you're going to get out of your opponent. Remember, as you lose one battle, you're going to win others. In this case, you're losing the battle for the knee, but winning the battle for the underhook. Let's look at this again so you can clearly understand what's going on tactically. Okay, opponent starts in a pretty good half guard position. So first we're going to shut down his underhook. We put our chin down and we sit our body out just like so. Now I need to get this hip down to the mat. So we start walking our body across. Now we come down into the quasi-mounted position. You could just ride the legs and wear them out for time. Or if you just stay static, you could just pass directly into the mounted position with a switching crossface. But what typically happens is your opponent wants to get your knee off the ground, elbow escape, and put you back in half guard, underhook, and get back into play. So, this is the battleground. I'm going to lose this battle deliberately so that I can win this battle. I give him my knee so that I can gain an underhook. I lose the battle for my right knee, but I gain something bigger, the underhook. Once I get an underhook, I can always free the knee later. It's not that difficult. From this position, as he holds on, we're going to use our shoelace to free the knee of the trapped leg. That was easy. Walk across to the side, put our knee down on the floor, and kick out into a good pinning position. Okay? So this is the tactical insight that guides our actions in these cases. It's okay to lose battles, provided you're doing so as a pretext to win a larger, more important battle. This video, at its heart, is an attempt to portray how older, less mobile jiu-jitsu athletes can overcome younger, fitter opponents with better physical attributes overall. The big story we're trying to give you guys is that the more connection you have over your opponent, or the more connection you have to your opponent, the more you're going to have control over things like the speed of the match, the flexibility of your opponent, the mobility of your opponent, etc., etc. The more contact you have with them, the more control you have over their physical attributes. Half guard is the position, the neutral position, I should say, which gives you the most body contact out of all the various positions in jiu-jitsu. And as a result, it's the one which older or less mobile jiu-jitsu students should be using as the basis of their game. We've looked at a lot of technique. Now let's start to look at tactics. What I'm going to encourage you guys to do is to use that substantial body contact you have combined with some simple tactical insights to exhaust and frustrate younger and fitter opponents. What I'm going to urge you to do is to use half guard over time. Let time work in your favor. Bring in an element of patience into your game. If you can exhaust and frustrate an opponent, okay, those are both a physical and a mental element. You can physically exhaust them and you can mentally frustrate them. If you can do those two things, you're going to beat a lot of younger, fitter opponents. The way we're going to do this with half guard is to use half guard in the following kind of sequence. You're going to establish control and slow things down. Then, having slowed the match down through substantial body contact and positioning, you're going to advance forward and threaten passes in 3 different directions. You're going to take one of those passes and successfully pass your opponent's guard. Then you're going to put yourself right back in half guard. And you're going to pick another form of half guard pass to pass again. And then you're going to put yourself right back in half guard. But every time you give your leg back to your opponent, you do so on your terms. You give them a bit of your leg, in particular, the ankle. Try to avoid giving them the whole length of your leg. Okay, you can give them a knee, it's not the end of the world, provided you have an underhook. Okay, but most of the time you just want to give them an ankle. It's okay to give them a knee, provided you have an underhook. What you're going to do is you're going to give them your leg back, but you're going to do it on your terms. You're either going to give them an ankle or you're going to give them a knee, provided you have an underhook. And if you can do this, you can willingly go back into your opponent's guard, knowing damn well that you still have dominance because you have either an underhook or you've only given him an ankle and therefore he doesn't really have much to work with. And you play for time in these positions, repeatedly passing, giving him something back, passing, giving him something back, but always giving him something back on your terms so that the generosity you're showing is an illusion. You're giving him the gift of your leg, but it's a fake gift. You're really giving him an empty hope. So that every time he keeps fighting and fighting to put you back in guard, he's never going to succeed because you've only given him enough to fight, but never enough to win. If you can do this for long periods of time, I promise you, you will physically exhaust and mentally frustrate your opponents. And opponents who are physically exhausted and mentally frustrated are much easier to beat than opponents who are in fine shape and feeling fresh and doing well. Let time be one of your weapons. Remember, as you get older, patience becomes one of your virtues. Use it in your jiu-jitsu. Okay, so I'm just going to run through some examples of this. Okay, we start off in a situation which is not good for you. You have gotten to half guard, but he's got a damn knee shield on you. So, okay, that's not what we wanted because I can't get chest to chest. But we've already seen from these situations that if we can go over our training partner's elbow and set out, we can get around that damn knee shield. It's not that big of a deal. We've seen from situations like this that it's not that hard for us to start gathering up our training partner's leg and walking the whole knee shield out of position. Now from here, we've seen that if we start in positions like this, what we want to do is walk our forehead down to the mat and get into a good position like so. Now from here, we've seen we can take our knee down into the quasi-mounted position. As he goes to put us back in guard, what he needs to do is take our knee off the mat. So our whole thing is to put our body weight over that knee and take a leg riding position. So as Brian goes to fight to get my knee off the mat, suddenly my knee feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. It's good. It's hard. Okay. Now, from here, I'm going to give him what looks like a gift. I'm going to come up and lighten my knee. So Brian's like, oh my God, I can get an elbow skate. But he gave up an underhook. It was a fake gift. And we lock up. Now, from here, I take my time. He's not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere. One thing I don't want to give is an easy opening where he can put me back in guard with an elbow skate. So I make damn sure that I close off the gap and I come up into that tripod position. And then from here, we shake, shake, shake. We put our knee just inside his hip. So when he goes to move me around, tries to bridge, tries to elbow escape, very, very difficult. Even if he did get my knee again, so what? I've got an underhook. I can just repeat the whole damn process and go right back into that ride position. If I screw up and he gets my knee, I don't give a damn. I still got my underhook. I'll go right back to where I was, tiring this guy out until I can get my knee down into this position. This is a great passing position. Should I pass immediately? Why? I'm not going anywhere. He goes to move me around. It's very, very difficult. I can take my time here. Now, when I feel the time is right, I go into my first pass. Start working just like so. Now, I'm going to come across, and I'm going to give Brian a fake gift. I'm going to come across like so. I'm going to take my foot and offer him my foot. And he locks up. He's like, oh, thank God I got his damn foot. Now I can put this guy back in guard. I just put my hand in. I give him my knee, but I took it. I took the underhook. So I lost 50 cents to gain $1. Okay, Brian got 50 cents. I got $1. Okay, now from here, I post my head right there on the floor next to my training partner. I come up into tripod position. I put my thumb inside my training partner's thighs. He goes to elbow escape, put me back in guard. It's so difficult for him. Now I just put my knee on the floor. He holds on tight, tight, tight to my foot. That's the only thing he's got left. I take my time. There's no rush. I can move my whole body across the other side into a quasi-mounted position. I can just rest right here. Now I come back, put my knee on the other side, and I just rest. As he tries to put me back in guard, I'm not going anywhere. Now I come through, and I pass. We lock up. We're looking good. Now, I'm going to give him one of those fake gifts again. I start driving my knee across, and I offer him a foot. He goes to elbow escape, and I just start riding his legs. It's hard for him to work here. Now I take an underhook on the opposite side. I put my head down, and I just ride in this position. He goes to put me back in guard. His elbow escape is shut down by my head position. He goes to put my knee between his legs and make my knee heavy by turning it inwards. If I turn my knee outwards, yeah, he can get my knee. But I turn it inwards. Tries to elbow escape. It's so difficult. Now I just pop up and I pass. I take my time, pinning. Then I give him a free gift. I give him my foot. But it's an empty gift because I got an underhook. He thinks he's got a good thing. He doesn't. I got an underhook upstairs. And as a result, it's easy for us to just play this riding position. He goes to put me back in guard. It's so damn difficult. Now we come through and pass. From here, again, I leave my foot dangling in the breeze. I give it to him for free. He goes to elbow escape on that side. I just go leg riding on the other side of the body. He goes to elbow escape. It's so difficult. Now I steal around the hook. Cut my knee across. And lo and behold, we're right back in place. Now, can you see what's happening here, fellas? In the space of 3 or 4 minutes, I've passed 4 or 5 times. There's moments in that confrontation where your opponent on bottom might think, hey, I got him, I got his foot, I can get out of here, I can work. But it's all an illusion. Because every time you give him the foot, you're taking an underhook. And if you have the underhook in chest to chest, you can always free your knee and you can go right back into your guard passes. I can just give him a foot. If I don't have an underhook, I just give him an ankle, no knee. And again, it looks like he's been given something, but really it's nothing. I can always extract an ankle. And you can play with your opponent over time, giving him fake gifts so that you're losing 50 cents to gain $1, $2. And as time goes by, at the end of the day, you've got $100 in your pocket and he's left with pennies. If you can think about the game in this way, in terms of giving empty gifts, never give him your knee without an underhook. If you're going to give him a knee, make damn sure you got an underhook upstairs. You can give him a foot because you can always extract the foot. and just play between passing left, right, up the middle, giving him a foot, and making the whole damn process repeat itself until your opponent feels like that ancient Greek metaphor of the man rolling the boulder up the hill, and every time he gets to the top, the boulder comes down the other side. So it's this exhausting work where he's just working and working and working and never getting a profit for his work. This is how you want to work from a half guard top. This is how older, less athletic opponents can outlast and outperform younger and fitter opponents. Now, we've been through a lot of technique, tactics. Now let's start putting everything together. What I want to do is just give you a kind of a step-by-step approach for older or mobility compromised athletes to take on younger, fitter, more mobile opponents and be successful with your guard passing. The general theme of this video is that we want to encourage the greatest degree of body connection possible. The more body connection we have, the more we're going to be able to shut down our opponent's superior movement potential whenever we're playing with them. Now, our general strategy to do this is to use the neutral position that confers the most body contact, which is half guard, top, and bottom. Right now we're interested in passing, so obviously it's half guard top. But we've got to get to half guard first. So we've seen that when we approach an opponent, we come in behind our hands and we're looking to get a hold of our training partner's feet to a degree where we can start getting angle on them. Once we get angle, we're going to switch our grips from our training partner's ankles and come down here to the hip and knee, strong body blow. And then from this position, we're going to bring our knee right there in front of his knee so that we trap his leg. Then we bring our body weight forward, head down, and as a result, we're able to get into a good position here, chest to chest. Now, fellas, there's going to be times before you can get chest to chest, your opponent will bring their knee across as a knee shield, okay? So once we've established half guard position, that's step number one. Step number two will always be to bypass any knee shield. If there is no knee shield, you skip that step, obviously, and you go straight into a chest-to-chest position. However, many times there will be a knee shield. And in these situations we saw, we've got to clear that knee shield out of our way. One excellent way for us to do this is to sit out so that we go past our training partner's legs into a situation where his knee is now behind us. From situations like this, the onus is on us to create situations where we can take our training partner's shoelaces and lock them in place. As we walk away from our training partner, we clear that annoying knee out, and as a result, we can come back into situations where now we can fight to get underhooks and establish our chest-to-chest position. This takes us into the third major step, which is establishing chest-to-chest position. Now, getting chest-to-chest is one thing, but we've got to stay chest-to-chest, which means we have to be able to get to an underhook. Your opponent knows that, and most of the time, they will be looking to get their own underhook. This creates a split in our half-guard passing approach, okay? There will be times that you have the underhook in chest-to-chest. There will be times he has the underhook in chest-to-chest. And where we go will depend entirely upon that simple observation. If my opponent has the underhook in place, the onus is on us to take their shoulder and their hip down to the mat, to flatten them out. So from situations like this, I want to negate his underhook by moving down the arm. The further up the arm I am, the more I can be taken out of balance by a good opponent. So we're always coming down, chin over our training partner's elbow. One excellent way for us to operate is to use a reverse crossface and sit out. From the sit-out position, we're always looking to walk across our training partner's body and put our forehead down to the mat. From here, we walk our foot heel to toe up towards his buttocks so we can free the knee of our trapped leg and get into this quasi-mounted position. From the quasi-mount, your two knees are on the floor like you're mounted, but he still has your foot. If we see he's overly defensive, we're going to free that foot by putting so much pressure on our training partner that he won't be able to maintain his position. And as a result, we'll pass directly into the mounted position. Most of your opponents will not accept this. They will try to elbow escape. We're going to make a trade. I'm going to give him my knee in order to take the underhook. So I lose 50 cents in order to gain $1. And as a result, we end up where we really wanted to be all along, which is chest to chest. Once we've established the chest to chest position, we're looking good. Okay? Now, the other side of the coin, the situations where from this position, once we've cleared a knee shield, you can just directly get to the underhook. And if this is the case, you can skip all the steps we just looked at in the previous sequence. If we can just get directly to the underhook, then from here, we're going to make a choice between a group of different forms of underhook. The first and arguably the most common is far side underhook with a crossface. And from here, we're always looking to free the knee of our trapped leg. So we use our shoelaces to free the knee of the trapped leg. Alternatively, if there's a situation where I cannot get a crossface, then we'll use our head as a block, as a substitute crossface. And from here, we come up into the high tripod. Then we free the knee of the trapped leg, and we're looking good, ready to pass. If I cannot get a far side underhook, because he has an underhook, then very often from here we will take a near side underhook, walk our hand in like so. Now we're going to use the head block on the opposite side. We're going to put our forehead down to the mat, and as always from here, we're looking to free the knee of the trapped leg. So once again, if he gets the far side underhook, then perhaps we can take the near side underhook. Put our head down to the mat, and then focus on freeing the knee of the trapped leg. And again, we're looking for that high tripod position. Now, best of all, our situations where we get not just one underhook, but two. This has the advantage that if we get double underhooks, we can pass on both far side, near side, and up the middle. So you get three different directions of passing from one grip. From here, we could easily, for example, come all the way up just like so, and then cut our knee across his stomach in order to pass. Alternatively, I could take my head to the other side, and then from double underhooks, free the knee of the trapped leg, put my knee in the inside position, and kick out to pass. Alternatively, I could take my knee across, and then from here, pass directly into the mounted position. So, what have we got? We've got a general game plan. With step number one, as always, to just force the basic half guard position. One of your legs trapped between two of his legs. Step number two is to clear any kind of knee shield out of your path. Once you've cleared the knee shield out of the path, you can get chest to chest. You will make an immediate recognition. Once you're chest to chest, do you have the far side underhook, or does he have the far side underhook? If he has far side underhook, the onus is on us to sit out and get our knee to the floor on the far side of our opponent's body. You can force underhooks from that position. If you can go directly into an underhook, then you have a choice between a variety of different underhooks. Near side, far side with a head block, and best of all, double underhooks. Once you get that kind of underhook control, you're going to be able to control your opponent's head and shoulders in ways where you can start to free the knee of your trapped leg. Once you free the knee of the trapped leg, you can pass in one of three directions: near side, far side, or straight up the middle into the mount. Once you get good at passing, then the final step of this half guard passing system is not technical, it's tactical. You're going to get used to the idea of continually passing and then giving your opponent your knee, provided you have an underhook, or giving him your foot, so that you will go into repeated passes over time. As your opponent gets gradually fatigued and frustrated as you continually pass in half guard, giving him morsels while you yourself are taking banquets from him, you give him the morsel of your foot or the morsel of your knee so that you can get to your underhook. You will be able to continually pass and give the illusion that you're giving him something back, a leg, but really you're not. You're engaged in a situation where you can continually pass and pass, going back into his guard and passing again until your opponent underneath you is exhausted. And it's at that point that we'll start going into the idea of submission holds. Now, if we get a bunch of stuff with regards to passing half guard, there is a very closely related topic, but it's an importantly different topic as well. This is the subject of passing half butterfly guard. Anytime you get into half guard situations with your opponent, there is a very high likelihood that your opponent will make a switch into half butterfly guard. The positions look outwardly quite similar, and so it's tempting just to say, hey, use the same methods to pass that you used for half guard. They should work, right? It's a similar position. Well, not really. Half butterfly guard is a very different set of problems from half guard itself. Let's have a look at these right now. Okay, Brian Glick has me in half guard. You will notice something immediately about half guard. In half guard, my training partner has no ability to lift or push me with his legs once I get past his knee shield. His knee shield, yep, he can push me with his knee, push me with his shin. Okay, so he has the ability to push. Once you pass the knee shield, his legs can only pull. His feet can come to his buttocks and he can squeeze his legs tight and he can pull with his legs, but he can no longer push me with his legs. Okay, that's why it's an advantageous thing to get past that damn knee shield, because he can't create space with his legs anymore. The only space he can create is with his upper body frames. And if I can get underhooks, it's going to be very hard for him to do that. Now, once we get into a tripod position, I can use my shoelaces to push on his legs, make strong legs. I can use my shoelaces to push on his legs. So I can push his legs, but he can't push mine. That's the great advantage in this position. That's why you should be able to pass most of your opponent's guards from these situations. They can't push on you with your leg, with their legs, but you can push on their legs with yours. Okay, so you have an immediate advantage. All this changes when your opponent takes his foot and locks it in like so. Now they can lift and push with the shoelace and the shin. And they can use that even when I have underhook control. Brian can easily off-balance me over in this direction and start exposing my legs to his ashigarami. He can just lift me vertically and from here start putting me back in guard position, either closed or open. So, I know it doesn't look like much. When the foot is behind me, this is half guard. When the foot is in front of me, it's half butterfly guard. I know it doesn't look like that much of a difference. The foot only travels a matter of inches. But it's a world of difference because here he can only pull with his legs. Here he has the option of pushing and lifting. And as a result, he can off-balance me even when I have what seems like dominant upper body grips. And he can use that to off-balance me out to the side and cause all kinds of havoc. Okay? So, a natural question to ask. How do you deal with this? If it's different, and it's a different kind of problem, what's the solution? We'll look at that very soon. Now, we've seen that half butterfly guard is a substantially different problem from passing regular half guard. Now it's time for us to start looking at solutions. Your first thing is to be able to nullify your opponent's half butterfly hook. Let's have a look at this. Okay, Brian Glick has me in half guard, and he makes the transfer from half guard to half butterfly. We've seen already that what this enables him to do is to elevate me. Okay, in particular, elevate me to the side that I'm driving towards. What this does is it has an important ramification. What it means is that the basic position of underhooking the far side loses much of its dominance. Okay, if Brian has regular half guard and I have a far side underhook, this gives me a measure of dominance. It locks me in chest to chest, and because Brian's legs can only pull, I should be able to win every time. However, once he gets that damn foot in, now my underhook can actually work against me because my elbows, the width of my elbows is the extent of my base. It's not very wide. And now when he starts lifting me over, I have to separate my hands. And as he continues to lift and push, I get my left leg extended, and oh no, I get pulled into an ashigarami X-guard type situation. Now I've got to dig myself out of that. So, what we have to be able to do is nullify the effects of this lifting, pushing butterfly hook. The single best way for me to do this is to take this knee and make it point out in this direction. Brian's lifting power is at its best when his knee is close to my rib cage. That's when Brian can lift very, very effectively and force me to move. In fact, right now Brian's being very polite, but Brian, put some horsepower into that much and you'll see that I get taken right up off the floor. Okay, so this is not something to underestimate. Okay, I'm not going to lie. Early in the squad's career, this was by far and away our most successful entry into leg locks. Most of our opponents greatly underestimated the amount of lift that we could generate from a half butterfly guard and take them into an exposure on the ashigarami on the opposite leg. Don't underestimate what a good opponent can do with this leg. Even when they're smaller and weaker than you, they can get you up off the floor and enter into the legs pretty damn easily. So what we need to do is get this knee away from us and pointing out here somewhere. That's where it loses its power. I want to make his knee point in this direction. So I am not going to lock in an underhook. Underhook doesn't really help me much here. From this position, the first method we're going to look at is a crossface, and I'm going to hug my training partner here at the lat muscle. I can give him an underhook, I don't care. I need this hand to be able to base out. I cannot have my hands here when my base gets very small, and now when he lifts me, I'm forced into an off balance. So instead, from here, I'm going to take this hand. If he goes to elevate me in that direction, I've got a base of support. Okay? Now, as long as his knee is close to my torso, when he lifts, look what it does to me. It takes me out of balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk. Watch Brian's knee. As I walk, that knee starts pointing out in this direction. Now I can use my head as a base of support. I can use my hand on his knee to push down towards the floor or even back towards my own legs. Now, let's do an experiment. Brian, put your hands in a good pushing position and go to lift me with your butterfly hook. That puts my foot right in front of his knee and kills the effect of the butterfly hook and gives us the mounted position. So, once again, if I lock in here, it feels strong. Feels as good as the half guard passes we looked earlier, but it's an illusion. Brian can easily lift me with that single hook. So instead, we hug the lat muscle. And from here, we base on the floor. We keep our hips down, head up. So when he goes to lift me, it's more difficult than it might otherwise be. If my head is down and my ass is up, I get lifted easily. So I want the opposite here. As Brian goes to move me around, I have good base. Now I start walking across his body. And I put my hand on top of his knee and push it down to the mat. So when Brian goes to lift me, very, very difficult. And I get my whole shin in front of his knee. So when Brian tries to bring his knee in, it's blocked out. Now we rake everything backwards, and we end up in the perfect mounted position. Now, let's look at this from a different angle. Brian has me in half guard. From here, I know when he transfers to half butterfly that my underhook becomes a liability. So I don't even bother with it. I'll give it to him, it's fine. We take a crossface and we grab the lat muscle. I turn my hips in like so. I use my hand as a base of support. So when Brian goes to lift me, it's not as easy as it looks. If I'm square to him and he lifts me, it's an easy entry for his Ashigarami. When I turn my hips in, it's much more difficult. When he goes to lift me, I keep my foot and my knee close together. I usually don't lock a triangle here. I just keep them close together. He goes to lift me. It's difficult. The most important thing is my knee comes in and catches here at his butt. So when he goes to lift me, he's fighting against my left leg, pinching in. If my left leg is wide, that's when he lifts me into Ashigarami, causes problems. So I pinch my knee inwards. He goes to lift me. It's the left knee that holds me in place. Now, I walk across his body and I push his knee down. He goes to lift me. I walk my foot in front and I rake the legs back. And as a result, we end up in the mounted position. So, this is the key to controlling our opponent in the half butterfly guard situation. Now, we just looked at a really solid, practical way to use our legs and hips to shut down the main danger of a half butterfly guard. Let's look at an even stronger way of using this exact same move by incorporating a near side underhook. Okay, we've seen that there's a fundamental problem here. The problem is that a talented athlete like Brian Glick can always take his foot and put it in front and create a surprising amount of lifting pressure. Even if I have what most people think are dominant upper body grips, His leg is stronger than the grip of my hands, takes me out of balance, and exposes me to ashigarami on the opposite side. Now you got to dig yourself out of that problem. Okay, so the key is not getting underhooks against this leg, rather it's a leg configuration. We're just going to work with our feet pointing towards the camera. Okay, we saw in the previous move that when Brian goes to lift me, the further my left knee is out, wide, for what most people think is base, the more vulnerable I become to a lift and entry into ashigarami. So the key is to shut down his ashigarami leg. In this case, it's Brian Glick's right leg. So the way we shut it down is we take our knee and put it right underneath his hip so that it hooks in. Guys, I never want my bottom leg to be straight. When my bottom leg is straight, he can bridge and knock me backwards, and it's easy for him to lift me into ashigarami on the opposite side. So what I want to do is take this knee and bump it forward, like I'm pinching inwards. This foot here comes back, and this knee comes forward, so that I'm close to something like a triangle. And when Brian goes to lift me, my left knee pushes forward and nullifies that butterfly hook. That enables us to walk and push his knee down to the mat. Now when he tries to lift me, it's impossible. You can just walk right over your training partner's knee and directly forward into the mountain position. Okay? So, that's great. Let's make it even better. How are we going to do that? By doing the same move with a near side underhook. Brian, let's change the angle. Okay, half butterfly guard. From here, I put my head down as Brian reaches towards me. I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to take a near side underhook right in here. Hand coming all the way up to the neck muscle, just like so. Now, I'm going to sit out into that exact same position that we just looked at. When Brian goes to lift me, it's even stronger now. You can just easily ride out. As your opponent goes to lift you over, it's so damn difficult. And because I have near side underhook, it's so easy to start walking across his body. I put my hand right inside his knee and I walk his knee down to the mat. As he tries to lift me, you just walk straight into the mounted position. Brian will tell you it's the worst feeling when you're the guy on bottom. You try to lift this guy, you feel like you helped him get into the mounted position. It's terrible. So let's have a look at this again. Brian has half butterfly guard. We keep head position down. As he's working from this position, we see an opportunity to take near side underhook. From near side underhook, we post out wide and we turn our legs into our favorite attacking configuration, which is right here. Don't have your legs straight. Leg bent like so. Your knee pressures forward. So when your opponent goes to lift you, it's hard. And we walk and we get our head down to the mat. From head down to the mat, we turn the hips in. He goes to lift me into ashigarami. It's so difficult. I put my hand inside his knee. He goes to lift me. And we just walk right past and into the mounted position we go. I know it looks a little too good to be true, but when you start drilling it, you'll see. Key point, forehead to the mat. Let's have a look at this. Let's change our angle a little bit. Okay. He gets the foot inside. From here, I'll give him the underhook, means nothing. We get our head down, just like so. I take near side underhook, and I grip all the way up. I turn my hips in, and I start walking until my forehead touches the mat. Now I have a base of support, my forehead, my hand, and my left foot. So when Brian goes to lift me, it's very, very difficult. Now I take my hand and I put it inside his knee. I can do that because my forehead is a base of support. If my head was off the mat and I took my hand out, I would fall. So I keep my forehead on the mat. I place this hand right inside. Now, see this knee? As long as it points upwards, Brian can lift me and cause problems. I want his knee pinned down to the mat. Now when he goes to lift me, it's difficult. If he takes his other leg and hooks over my leg, some people do this, you may have to finagle in order to get out. He hooks over, pulls it in, Look how I push, point my toes, and I'm out. See that knee of his? It's a barrier. I walk heel to toe until my foot passes the barrier. Then my leg pulls his legs back. My hand becomes a base of support, and we lock up the closed mounted position. When he tries to take me off, it's really tough, and you're mounted. So this is an excellent way for you to use the near side underhook to make a great move even better. Now, we're looking at the idea of passing an opponent who's using half butterfly guard against us. We've seen that the problem of half butterfly guard is substantially different from the problem of regular half guard. Once you recognize those differences, then you start to see what's required to be successful here. Now, I want to go over a move which is both a safety mechanism that takes away his best attack and also a great way to facilitate passing as well. So again, it takes an already good move and makes it even better. What we're going to do is steal inside position from him. The whole thing that makes half butterfly guard a dangerous place for me to be when I'm on top is his damn inside position. He's got his foot inside as a butterfly hook inside my thigh. So if he lifts me, he's in the perfect position for Ashigarami. But what if we took our own foot and put it inside his leg? Well, then we'd both have it, an example of inside control, one instance of inside control, but you'd be on top. And so things should theoretically work out very well in your favor. So let's have a look at this right now. Brian Glick has done a good job of going from half guard, where his legs are behind me, to his foot in front of me. Now his foot and his shin are in front of me. Now he can start lifting me and moving me around. Grips that normally in half guard are considered dominant now become something of a liability. So we've seen we've got to change the orientation of our lower body. And we've seen that most of that change involves sitting out into this position here. Now, there's the biggest problem that we face in half butterfly guard is the problem that Brian can lift me and straighten my leg and start attacking with variations of Ashigarami, transfer into X guard, etc., etc. So, what we're going to do this time, we're going to lock up and go into our favorite position. He goes to lift me. It's not so easy now. We've got a good base of support. He goes to bridge. It's not so easy now. Now, when we feel any kind of threat, we're going to take our forehead to the mat and pick our leg up, and we're going to take our foot and put it inside. Keep your legs up like that. So now he has a butterfly hook. That's his left leg, and I have a butterfly hook. When he goes to lift me around, it's difficult. Okay? It's relatively easy for us to start pommeling feet inside. And from situations like this, it won't be so hard for us to come down into winning positions. Okay? The only thing I'm going to add is that you can do this from the CROSSFACE that I just demonstrated, but it's not optimal. The optimal grip is a near side underhook. So let's put everything together now and look at arguably the best way to deal with half guard, half butterfly. So Brian's got half butterfly like so. We're going to start by taking a near side underhook. And as a result, we can start walking our way forward and get into our favorite upper body grip. We're going to turn our hips a little. So when he goes to move us around, it's not so easy from here. But we feel like, man, this guy's talented. I can feel my legs starting to straighten. When we see that, we pick our knee up and I take my foot to my buttocks. So when Brian goes for Ashigarami, all he gets is nothing. A big old pile of nothing. We get our foot inside of the butterfly hook. When Brian goes to lift and elevate me, it's so difficult. Now I take my hand and I make your butterfly hook strong. I put it right there on his knee. And I push his knee inwards and I put my knee in front of his knee. So that when Brian tries to hold and control me with that butterfly hook, I'm in front of it. And as a result, I can easily shut down my opponent's leg on that side. Now, from here, the only thing he has left is this damn foot. He locks onto it. But you guys know what to do from here. We take our second hand in and form double underhooks. We tripod, walk, put our knee on the floor, and we go right back into the original guard passes that we looked at earlier in the video. Okay, let's have a look at that from a variety of different angles. So, Brian Glick has half butterfly guard. We take a near side underhook. We turn our hips. We put our forehead on the mat. And when Brian goes to lift us, we feel we're doing a pretty good job of shutting him down. But this kid is strong. And I can feel, oh no, he's going to start to threaten Ashigarami. So I take my foot up to my own buttocks. When he goes to lift me into Ashigarami, he just gives me a butterfly hook. He gets nothing. He goes to lift me with the other leg, and I just float over my opponent. I'm not going anywhere. I'm using my head and my right hand as a base of support. Go to lift me around, Brian? So I'm pretty damn stable here. Now, it's an easy thing for me to walk 1, 2, 3, 4, until my knee is in front of his knee. My knee in front of his. He wants his knee in front of mine. It's what he always wants. When he tries to bring his knee to his chest, I just step 1, 2, 3 until it's in front. And then I hook it straight down to the mat. I take my second underhook. He tries to hold me off. I tripod, walk over to the side, and I get my knee down to the mat. He tries to hold on desperately to my foot. We do what we always do. We use our feet to clear on out of them. And now we're threatening to go forward into the mounted position from another angle. Half butterfly guard. He's got an underhook. We take a near side underhook. From this position, I turn my hips out. So when he goes to lift me, it won't be easy. But this kid is so damn strong, I feel him starting to lift and expose the Ashigarami. I take my left foot back to my buttocks. He goes for Ashigarami, and all he gets is my butterfly hook. He tries for a leg lock from here. He's got nothing. I got the inside position with my left foot. He tries to lift me with this leg. Bring your knee in tight. I just walk forward until my knee beats his knee. And then from here we settle down. He traps my foot. I don't give a damn. I lock up. I walk over to the side and I put my knee on the mat. Now from here, we just kick out and we mount it. So, this is a really practical way to use a combination of near side underhook and inside foot positioning to completely shut down half butterfly guard.